Hi, this is Steve Siebold, and we're here at the Bone Allen Mansion today outside of Atlanta with Tom Mathews, who is one of the top performers in World Financial Group, has been in this business for a long time. And Tom, thanks for coming. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming
Steve.
to the
Thanks
mansion.
for having me here.
Yeah, good to see you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? I know you've been in the business 30 plus years.
I have.
You go way back.
I do. Well, I came from a family of accountants, so my family's always been in the finance business, and so my dad was a CPA, and that's kind of what I thought I was going to be when I grew up, so I studied accounting in school, and when I got out of school...
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Xavier in Cincinnati.
Xavier, okay.
And I realized that accounting might not be for me. And all along, since grade school, I had played the trumpet in the band and had gotten a scholarship to college for music. So I decided I'd maybe try to be a trumpet player. So I tried a little bit of that, and Cincinnati's not really Los Angeles or New York or Nashville, so it's not really a big, hot musical place. But there was a nightclub band I played in there for a little while, and I enjoyed that. But along the way, I met a guy who introduced me to this business. And when I saw the difference that improving somebody's literacy could make, I knew that I'd found what was going to be my life's work.
Now, was he in the band with you, or?
No, he was just a guy that had ran an ad in the paper.
Oh, wow.
My brother decided he was going to be a drummer instead of going to college. And so I had a 70s dad. You know, not in my house, right?
Right, yeah.
So he circled some jobs he thought my brother Pat would qualify for. And he said, "You're not going to stay home and do nothing. You're going to go get a job."
Right.
So that morning before work, we were all still living at home. We were looking through the paper, and I saw these circles. And one went right through the middle of an ad that said, "Overworked, underpaid. I need management people who want to make $50,000 plus." I'm thinking, $50,000 plus?
That's a lot of money back then, right?
So I dialed the number up, and I got a guy on the phone, and he asked me my background and where I'm from, and told me that I might be what he was looking for. So I went and met him. And he explained to me that such a response to the ad that he was going to have a whole room full of people taking the first look, and if I liked what I saw and he liked what he saw, we would schedule a one-on-one time after that. So I walked in a room of about 50 or 60 people, and he went up on the whiteboard and he drew the number 72 and explained what the rule 72 was and how long it took for money to double at what interest rate. And when I heard that, I was so upset that I just got a degree in accounting from a very good business school.
Right.
And never heard of the Rule 72.
Is that right?
My dad's a CPA, never heard of the Rule 72.
Interesting.
And I realized that little mental math shortcut would be one of the secrets to people learning how money really works and be able to apply it to their life. And when that happened, I just felt this surge, like this is going to be my life's work, teaching people how money works.
And this is what year?
This is 1982.
And you were how old?
22.
22. Okay.
Yep.
So you were a kid, pretty much.
Right out of
college.
school, and it was a little bit controversial in that they were new to town as a company. This was just getting started, and our structure is unique, so it's not the typical corporate world structure. It's a structure that allows you to be an entrepreneur and build a business, but also build a practice at the same time, so you can serve a family with the products and services, but you can also build a team. And I was very anxious to learn both because there's two skills I didn't have, I didn't know. And I knew how to play my trumpet, and I knew how to do somebody's taxes.
Accounting and music, they don't typically go together.
They don't, but it was really fun.
And your brother was a musician as well.
My brother, yeah, and he's now
That's
a CPA.
Okay, you went the other way. Yeah.
I love music, though, and I've always loved music. There's nothing like it. It's the universal language.
Yeah.
It's so, and the minute I got around this business, I just knew this was for me.
So what was the most attractive thing about WFG for you?
Well, WFG was a few years later because we had a practice run where we went for about a decade kind of deciding how we wanted to do this and what we were going to do going forward. But as we started WFG, it was what was attractive to me was a couple things. The first was that we were going to put the consumer first and only consider their interest and never our own. And that's not always that way in every other financial service company out there. Sometimes, people get what's good for the agent, not necessarily what's good for the client.
Sure.
We decided we're going to build a company around doing something that's really good for families, and not really look at if it's good for us or not, or good for our company, or good for a product provider. Just do what's good for the consumer. And the second thing was that we would be able to introduce people to this business, and not just to our products and services. So I'm so glad somebody made me an associate, not just a client. And so we would continue that. And then beyond that, we will be able to have diversification because our first 10 years, we primarily sold one product. And but beyond that, once we started WFG, it was great diversification, hundreds of different choices for clients. And so that made a difference too, because then if we would uncover a need or any kind of a goal or something they're trying to do, after we teach them how it works, we can match a product or a service of it that would be exactly what they need to try and have the best chance to hit that goal.
And how long did it take you to become successful? And let's say successful maybe, geez, back then, and $30,000 a year back then? I mean,
a couple years to get there.
That's a lot of money back then.
That was decent money, but it took me 4 or 5 years to really get it rolling. I was young, single, no experience, and had a lot to learn, but very eager to learn. And if something's going to become your life's work, you learn differently, in my opinion. I think I knew I was going to take some lumps. I had people that didn't join me because I'm young.
Right.
I had people that didn't trust me because I'm young. So that was reverse ageism, I guess you could
Sure,
call it.
yeah.
But I realized that if I could just be smarter, if I could know the products better, if I was better at explaining it, that eventually I wouldn't be 22, and they would trust me. And between the experience I gained from the years and also the knowledge, I was able to get people to trust me. And then I started building my team, and the same thing happened. I had a few people that were a few years older that didn't join me because of my age, but eventually they said yes, and I built a team, and we became successful. And we in that first 10 years, about 1.5 million people joined that company, and by the end of that 10 years, I was in the top 50.
Wow!
So that wasn't bad for a little guy from Ohio, and it was so much to learn to start with, and just really had. My business associates really became my family. I felt like we were in business together for life, and we were on a noble crusade to go change the biggest industry in the world, and to do things for consumers that they couldn't do for themselves because they either didn't have access to the products or didn't have the knowledge about how it worked to know which one to pick if they did have access. And so that really gave us quite an advantage, and really didn't feel like we were taking on any other company or even the industry. We felt like we were just going out there to make a difference for these families one at a time.
And then was that's sort of the mission that you guys had. Is that the thing that made you believe at 22 that it was going to be a lifetime position or lifetime work?
Well, you only get to be 22 once, and 23 once, and 24 once, and everybody's going through all these different stages of life. And if you do smart things with money, you give yourself extra advantages. And it doesn't mean you're guaranteed anything. It just means that you're not going to be taken advantage of from not knowing and not having access. And so between those two things, we were able to build a great business with really good people. And when somebody sits down with you and says, I want to send my children to college, or I want to retire at this age, or I want to start a business at this age, whatever they're trying to do, that's a very serious thing. Goals and dreams are serious. And so we make sure that we help them to figure out what that looks like. How much would you have to save, and what kind of return, what kind of tax advantage, and what would that look like at this age or that age? What if you live to that age, or what if you don't? What if you get sick along the way? What are all the things you might need to protect yourself? And so we did, and that allowed us to build not only a team, but build a big business with lots of families trusting us with their money.
Did you do it part-time for a certain amount of time, or did you
just
go
for a little bit? I was full-time pretty fast.
In like the first year?
Yeah, first couple months.
Okay. But it took a while to get the money rolling.
It took a while. Yeah, I just didn't know anything.
Were you still playing trumpet in the band?
I was.
Okay.
and
Hard to get that out of your blood,
So
right?
I had my suit on all day, because that was back in the early 80s, and everybody wore suits every day.
Sure, yeah.
And then I'd go to the club and change into a tux and go up on stage and play till 1 in the morning and just tee it up, and we had a blast. It was so fun. Nothing like music.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then next morning, go back to the office.
Do you still play today?
I do.
Do you really?
I do.
Do you play in a band?
No, I don't play in a band.
Just
but
on your own?
On my own, if I play around at home or with one of the kids or something, but it's fun.
Kind of never gets out of your blood.
Never. Carl and I were talking about it on the way driving up here. It's just fun to think about what, no matter who you are, what language you speak, what your background is, when you listen to music, it can tie you all together.
Sure.
And my thing in this business is that knowledge about how money works is really the same, because no matter what type of money, what country, we all have the same goals and dreams about things we want to do for our family, things we want to do for retirement. And I didn't make these rules, but so much of it takes money.
Sure.
And so what you do with the money you earn and what you do to maybe make more money than your station in life would allow for, because our society is one that you'll be paid the sum of your education and your experience, monetized.
Right.
Well, what if that's not enough? What if you want to make more? What if you need to make more? What if you have dreams or goals that are bigger than that? Will you either shrink your dreams to fit the size of your current opportunity, or you go build an opportunity as big as your dreams? And so that's what got me. I thought, shoot, I'm not going to be an athlete. I'm probably not going to be a rocket scientist. Probably not going to be moving to New York or Los Angeles to play my trumpet. So this may be my chance to be a successful entrepreneur. And because it's the biggest industry in the world, I felt like I had a lot of chances in my favor, a lot of the odds in my favor. The ability to look at an industry this big and think that we can become part of it and get on the side of righting wrongs. To us, we look at it as a wrong.
And what is the wrong? Can you explain for someone that doesn't know?
The wrong is that you don't know how money works. The wrong is that you don't have access to the products that you need to make this thing you're trying to accomplish happen for you in the best way.
Okay.
And so we want to go out and teach people the knowledge, improve their financial literacy, and then match up products and services with that goal that we uncover. And then it's up to them from there to maintain that product or that program, that strategy, and put them in a position to be able to become successful.
So why WFG? Now I know there was another company that morphed in WFG, eventually split off, but why should people looking at this now choose WFG when there's other alternatives, there's competitors you guys have, there's other business opportunities?
Well, one reason is because we have a strength in selection. We have lots of products. And so you're not, if you go to work with some companies, you can only sell their products. But here you have access to companies from all different industries and all different. Every product we have has 2 or 3 or 4 different choices. So I think the strength and choice gives people a lot of ability to make sure you're doing the right thing. But when I look at this business, my view is if you're going to rise above what the world says you're worth, your education, your experience combined together, that's probably going to mean you're going to have to become an entrepreneur. Well, to become an entrepreneur in traditional sense means you got to maybe buy a franchise, or you're going to need some money, you're going to have inventory or overhead.
Sure.
All those things. Well, the financial industry doesn't call for that. So here, for the cost of a license, you can become part of our company.
Which costs very little, right?
A few $100s.
$100, okay.
Yeah, the license, and we have
takes how long to get licensed?
Usually a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've sort of put yourself on another path. If you try and go back to school, it's going to take you years.
Sure.
And if you try and wait long enough in the corporate world, you're going to be there for years waiting on yourself to maybe have a chance to move up. Sure. But here you can make that happen and do it in the biggest industry in the world for the cost of a license. And then beyond that, when you start thinking about it, everybody's not a potential customer or potential client for every product out there. Yet, learning how money works and having that applied to products and services, that's a conversation you could just about have with almost anybody. That people want to know that, and they want that information. They want to be able to be smarter. Who would want a chance to make more money? Who would want a chance to be smarter when it comes to taxes, or offset the effects of inflation, or be smarter with what happens if you live or die? All those things are realities that you got to face, and everybody would like to know they've got that taken care of. So that's my experience, and so we've been able to have a great business because of that. And so when you become an entrepreneur here, literally from your first sale, you have a chance to be in the black. And you don't have to have inventory or overhead or all. Which is
unbelievable for an entrepreneur. That doesn't even, for me, for 30 years as an entrepreneur, not in your business, it's just just strange.
So even on a small
strange.
scale, you're profitable.
Yeah.
And then if it works out and you do well, and you listen to your mentors and your coaches, and you follow this system we've developed our track to follow, our system. And so simply, you just run our system, and the system runs the business. Just like the E-Myth. So it gives us a chance to teach people something that's replicable, and so therefore people can come in and be new in our business, but not be doing the business in a new way, doing the business in a way that's produced a lot of success, and it gives them the best chance of being successful themselves.
Let me ask you this, because I've always wondered about this. Would you say that you guys are primarily in the financial services business, or are you in the team building business? Because obviously building a team is where the bigger money is.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Well, our flagship product, if you will, is our business opportunity. So we are in the business of building distribution, and that means opening outlets, having people, an outlet in a traditional business is a storefront. or an office. But with us, it's a new associate. Especially today with all this technology and the internet, a person really is an outlet. And so that's a big part of our business. But I can never forget how I got here and what it means to me to sit down with a family and take them through their finances and have them have all these aha moments all along the way once they start learning how money really works, and then have that be able to be applied to a product or a service that could be the vehicle that helps them achieve this goal or dream that they had financially.
So it's kind of a combination, would you say, of building a...
It is. And there's some people that are more into the business side and some that are just want to be a client. We try and not have a crystal ball, so who knows? I've been surprised so many times. So we pretty much, everybody that needs it becomes a client, and most people get a shot at taking a look at our business.
How long does the average client keep one of the products that they buy from your team, would you say on average? I don't know that percentage off the top of my head, but I could tell you that they are designed to last a lifetime. So whether it be an investment program or an insurance program or any things that we do, we hopefully are putting them in place in a way that they could take that through many stages of life. What would you say the downside of WFG is, the opportunity?
Well, if you're part-time, I can't think of one, because you got your bills being paid by your full-time job. Now, if you were trying to be full-time from day one, I could see sometimes it took me a while to figure it out. So it wasn't that the system had to be figured out. It was that I had to learn how to grow into being able to do it.
Just to follow it?
Yes, just to follow it. And so I don't know that there's a downside if you're part-time. I think it's the way I looked at it from the very beginning, as I thought, I'm an accountant, I'm a trumpet player, but there's a lot of financial knowledge I don't have. And if I go through this training, even if I'm terrible at this business and I don't like it and it doesn't work out for me, I'm going to have financial knowledge that'll last the rest of my life. And so I went into this in a quest for that knowledge. But once I got it, it was like bursting out of my seams. I had to go tell everybody, oh my gosh, did you know this? Did you know that if you get this return, this is how long it takes money to double? And I would go into all these things with my friends and like, calm down. What are you talking about here?
Right.
But they were all intrigued and wanted to know more about it. And of course today it's the flagship of what we do, is teaching people how money works.
Well, I know you've got a test, and last time we met, you told me to take the test, and I thought, I've been studying money for a long time. I'll just see what it's about.
Right.
And I got on there, and I passed it, but I had to think about it.
Yes.
And there was one question I remember I missed. I think it was the compounding question.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I thought, well, I knew that. What was I? But what percentage of people would you say, Tom, that you work with, that all the people, thousands of people you've worked with over the years, really do understand money?
1 out of 3.
1 out of 3.
1 out of 3. 2 out of 3 are virtually clueless. It's not taught in most schools.
Right, yeah.
Even if it is taught, it's not taught to any degree or any depth. And I believe the financial industry is incentivized to not have you know.
Absolutely,
I think
agree.
the less you know, the bigger their buildings are.
Right.
And so they're not going to go out of their way to teach it to you. They probably wish we would shut up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, once you have this knowledge, you can't unknow it. It's like you can't unsee it. And once you learn, I was with a banker yesterday, and we were talking about passbook savings accounts. And I said, have you ever applied what you do to the Rule 72? And he said, well, no, what are you talking about? And I said, well, you know the Rule 72, right? If you got 1% return, it takes 72 years for $1 to turn into $2. He said, oh, okay. I said, so now let's apply that a couple different directions. One is, let's look at something like the stock market. For going all the way back, it's averaged around 10%, let's say. Well, that would mean every 7.2 years, you would $1 turn to $2.
Right.
That's a little faster than 1%.
Sure.
But I said the average passbook savings rate, I just looked at it last week, it's 0.12. That's 600 years for $1 turn to $2. And you guys don't even give them toasters anymore.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I never thought of that. And he said, well, we got CDs. I said, yeah, that makes it every 300 years.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So it doesn't change it a lot.
Right.
And but what if you could find a way to get 6 or 8 or 10 or 12, and all of a sudden you pick up a double or 2 or 3 in your lifetime? That's twice as much money.
Right.
So that's worth knowing. That's worth having access to.
Absolutely.
That's what we do.
Yeah, wow. Okay, let's talk about some of the criticisms that you guys have gotten, especially online in the day of social media and all the rest of it, right? Some people say, well, if you type in WFG scam, they'll say, well, it's a scam. How do you address people that say it's a scam?
Well, I drive a Mercedes, and if you put in Mercedes sucks, you'll have people pull up stuff that you can't even believe that's out there. And I think today's world, when I grew up, people would hold up a sign and say, I don't like this, or they pick it. But today they go online and they write things, and I don't know that it's always true or accurate. My experience has not been that. So
why would they say it's a scam? Why would that come up, you think?
I think a lot of it is that the financial industry is not happy with what we're doing. If your competition likes you, you're probably not doing much, and we're doing something.
Sure.
So it's not unusual for that, and I think that for most people that are trying to change your station in life, where you're trying to build a business and become an entrepreneur, the world at large is not going to be very supportive of that in the early stages. So sometimes your friends and your relatives say, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? That's not going to work out for you." All the way till it does.
Right.
And then they're like, "I always said."
I knew there was something about you. I knew. Yeah.
Very special.
I didn't say anything back then, but I knew. Yeah.
And I'll say one other thing about that. We've got people from every background, tall and short, old and young, every gender, every race, every religion.
It's true. Yeah.
And they're successful. So what that means is, if someone that looks like you is doing well at this, that means you could if you just work hard, if you work smart, if you do good things for people. And so to me, that really negates some of what's said online, because I don't know who said it or why they said it or what their motivation was.
Right.
I don't know if it's a competitor. I don't know if it's a disgruntled agent. I don't know who it is. But everything that I've ever seen on there, none of it's true about my business, so I don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, it's interesting because they accuse sometimes WFG and other companies of being a scam. And I was on the phone, we sell training, as you know, to big companies. And I was on the phone with the senior vice president of a household name company, financial, huge, multi-billion dollar. And I said, we were interviewing him for a program we're doing. And I said, what's the biggest challenge, obstacle you guys have faced in the last 5 years? And he said, transparency. And when I drilled down for about a half an hour, basically it was, the regulations are forcing us to tell the client the truth.
Yes.
And I said, is there something bad about telling them that? Isn't that what I trust you to do?
They've been jacked, they're not happy.
Right. But I mean, that's a senior vice president of a multi-billion dollar, multinational corporation. And I almost couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to say next.
Right.
So I mean, it seems like that would be more of the scam.
To me, it would.
Yeah.